Daniel thought the storm would be the scariest thing that night, but he was wrong. Because that night, he walked into an abandoned building and found a human hand sticking out from beneath the floor. But the real horror began later, when the killer walked into the room and said he had been waiting for someone to find it. The rain began just after sunset, falling softly at first, but within minutes, it turned into a violent storm. Dark clouds swallowed the small town of Ashford, and the wind roared through the empty streets. Loose signs rattled, old buildings groaned. It almost felt as if the storm itself was trying to wake something buried deep inside the town. Daniel Carter had been driving for nearly an hour when his car suddenly shuddered. The engine coughed once, then twice, and then died completely. Silence. Only the relentless drumming of rain on the windshield and distant thunder rolling across the sky like a warning. Daniel sighed. He stepped out of the car into the freezing rain, pulling his jacket tightly around him. He looked down the road. Nothing. No houses, no streetlights. Only darkness and the outline of trees swaying violently in the storm. He checked his phone. No signal. Waiting inside the car all night was impossible. The cold was already creeping through his clothes. Reluctantly, he grabbed a flashlight from the glove compartment and began walking down the muddy road. The beam of light cut through the rain as gravel crunched beneath his boots. The storm made every sound feel louder, every shadow feel deeper. After nearly 15 minutes of walking, Daniel saw something ahead through the trees. A building. It stood half hidden behind skeletal branches, old, silent, forgotten. Its windows were dark and broken. A rusted metal sign hung crooked near the entrance, swaying slowly in the wind. Daniel stepped closer and wiped rain from his eyes. The faded letters read, Ravenwood Boarding House. Something about the place felt wrong immediately. The building looked abandoned for decades. Paint peeled from the wooden walls. Vines crawled across the structure as if nature itself was reclaiming it. But the storm was getting worse. Daniel pushed the door open. The hinges screamed. The sound echoed through the empty building. Inside, the air smelled of dust, mold, and something older, something stale and forgotten. His flashlight revealed broken furniture, torn wallpaper, long hallways that disappeared into darkness. Somewhere in the building, water dripped slowly. Drip, drip, drip. Each drop echoed through the silence like a ticking clock. The first floor looked like an old lobby. A reception desk stood against the wall, buried beneath dust and spiderwebs. Behind it, rows of small metal mailboxes, most of them hanging open, as if someone had searched through them long ago. Then suddenly, thunder exploded outside. The windows rattled violently, and Daniel heard something else. A sound above him. Thump. He froze. At first, he told himself it was just the storm. Old buildings made noises. But then, it happened again. Thud. Slow. Heavy. Coming from the second floor. Daniel slowly raised the flashlight toward the staircase. The wooden steps were coated in dust, except for something strange. Footprints. Fresh footprints. His heart began pounding instantly. Someone had been here, recently. Part of him wanted to turn around and run, but another thought crept into his mind. Maybe someone else had taken shelter from the storm. Daniel climbed the stairs slowly. Each step creaked beneath his weight. The second floor hallway stretched long and narrow. Doors lined both sides, most of them broken, some hanging from their hinges. Then his flashlight stopped at the end of the corridor. Was a door, slightly open. The footprints led directly to it. Daniel walked toward the room. every step tightening the knot in his chest. A cold draft slipped through the doorway. He pushed the door open. At first, the room looked empty. An old bed frame leaned against the wall. A broken chair sat in the corner. Then his flashlight root slightly to the right and froze. Something pale was sticking out from beneath the floorboards. A hand. A human hand. Daniel's stomach twisted violently. The skin looked gray, stiff, half buried beneath splintered wood and dirt. He stepped closer, slowly kneeling down, shining the flashlight across the floor. Several boards had been pried open and badly nailed back in place, and beneath them, a body. Daniel stumbled backward, nearly dropping the flashlight. The corpse looked like it had been shoved there, in a hurry. Then the smell reached him. Rotting flesh. Someone had hidden a body here, recently. Daniel turned toward the door, ready to run, but then he heard footsteps behind him. Slow footsteps, moving down the hallway. Daniel instantly switched off the flashlight, pressing himself into the corner of the room, barely breathing. The footsteps stopped outside the door. Then the door creaked open. A dim lantern light slid across the floor. Someone stepped into the room. The figure wore a long, dark coat and a wide hat that shadowed their face. The stranger walked directly toward the broken floorboards and looked down on the hidden body. For a long moment, the room remained silent, except for rain hitting the windows. Then the stranger spoke quietly. I wondered how long it would take someone to find him. Ice ran through Daniel's veins. The man slowly turned his head toward the dark corner. You can come out now. I can hear you breathing. Daniel stepped forward into the lantern light. The man's face became visible. Older, thin lips, cold eyes, completely calm. You shouldn't have come here tonight. Daniel swallowed hard. That body, what happened? The man stared at him for several seconds. Then he smiled. He deserved it. Thunder shook the building again, and suddenly Daniel understood something horrifying. The killer was standing right in front of him. The man slowly reached inside his coat and pulled out a knife. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Daniel grabbed the broken chair beside him and swung it with all his strength. The wood shattered against his arm. The knife flew across the floor. The lantern tipped over. Flames flickered wildly. Daniel ran. He sprinted down the hallway, down the stairs, his footsteps echoing through the building. He burst through the front door, into the storm. After several minutes of running, Daniel saw headlights in the rain. A police car. Daniel waved frantically until it stopped. Officers rushed inside the building, searching every room. But the man was gone. The knife had disappeared. They did find one thing, though: the body beneath the floorboards. Later that night, after hours of questioning, Daniel learned something disturbing. The dead man had been missing for 3 weeks, and the Ravenwood Boarding House had been sealed by police years ago after several unexplained disappearances. But the worst discovery came the next morning. Investigators returned to the room. They removed the floorboards completely and found something else beneath them. Not one body, not 2, 5. 5 victims hidden beneath the floor. Every single one of them had disappeared from Ashford over the last 10 years, which meant the man Daniel saw that night had been killing for a very long time. But the final discovery was the most terrifying. Hidden behind the wall inside the same room, police found a small notebook. Inside were dozens of names, some of them crossed out, others still waiting